Welcome back to part 2 of Beatroots, guys. I'm here with Ozmo. We're digging through one of his stem tracks called Myth of Sisyphus. We're going to be listening to the drums and the bass right now. So I'm going to kind of cue it up from the middle and we'll bring in that drum track. Really trappy.
Yeah,
really
yeah,
trappy.
That was definitely the way I was going for. Something like real nice and snappy. You can even see from like the project that all of the effects or all the racks that I have are all actually called, you know, like trap everything.
Yeah.
So basically, like, to streamline my production, I've been taking just like all the samples that I've collected over the years.
Yeah.
And making, you know, individual little drum racks that I could use. I could just throw them in. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to go through all my samples and decide like which ones sound good, which ones I'm gonna throw in. Then I gotta add a compression to everything. I gotta do all that stuff. I didn't really want to do that, so.
You've just got like an inventory at your disposal.
Yeah, so
whenever you need it.
I spent a long time just kind of taking all these things that I created and putting them into something that allows me to actually use them again. So I spent a lot of time just doing sound design, just gathering samples, doing all that stuff, but they kind of just sit in the computer in places that you don't think about sometimes, so it's really helpful to just kind of rein it all in. You can use all those things over and over.
Right,
you can change them in so many different ways. So
let's bring this bass line in for a little bit here and take a listen.
For sure.
Really dirty, grimy, gnarly.
Yeah. In the beginning of the track, like the first drop, it's real simple. It's just a straight, like, you know, quarter note bounce that trap music has.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. I thought like it's really heavy, real clean. That's kind of what I was going for. But then, you know, I wanted to bring that drop back in. I didn't really want to have like a different kind of sound, but I wanted to change it up in a certain way. So I did it in like a really simple way that makes it sound complex, just like adding like a simple polyrhythm on top of it with a couple different bass sounds, basically.
Let's take a listen to both the drums and the bass line at the same time. Yeah, there's like great communication going on.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Cool, let's take those out. Let's hop over to Ableton, and why don't we start with what, drums or bass?
Let's start with just the sub sound, because that was probably the second thing that I came up with in the track.
Okay.
Like, it started with just this bell sound, and then I made a little build up. I'd say it was a combo of the sub and this clapping sound, but we'll get back to that later. So the sub is, I'm not exactly sure where it originally came from. This was either an 808 sample or another like sub hit sample that pretty sure I ran this one through my 404 sampler, and the cool thing about it is you can just like drive the hell out of it, and it'll clip like really badly, and I love the sound of that. So I think I used like a combo of like trash and my 404, and I recorded it later and, you know, just put it into a sampler. So
let's just take a listen only to that sub.
So you can hear that, like, the instrument rack has a few different tones to it, but it's all just about, you know, making like a really, really rich, heavy sound, like the thick sub, but not too much sub. A lot of people put a lot of importance on just like the sub frequencies, but if you want a really banging like bass sound, it's kind of all in the mids, low mids.
Right.
So it took a lot of time to really find the proportions, how to make like a heavy bass sound like this.
Yeah, and what was your technique to do that?
It's just a lot of time. Like when I first learned about like 808 like bass hits, I thought they were like, you know, awesome. I thought it was like just so heavy.
Yeah.
And every time I tried to make like a really heavy bass sound like that, it would just be like real muddy and like gross, and it would just destroy my whole entire mix. So I couldn't really put anything on it. It would sound cool on its own. Right. But I could never use it in a track. So just like over time I realized.
What does the rack look like of effects that you're using on this sub?
This sub, I literally have done pretty much everything beforehand. That's the cool thing about it. Like, with my production style at this point, is I'm trying to streamline it, like I said before. And so I've already created, like, the bass sound is already pretty much pre-mixed.
Yeah, so this is your bass wave that you
Yeah,
created,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like the mix is how you want it, and there's very few effects that you have on there.
Totally. So the main thing is just like I took out some of these mids that were just like muddying it up, and then I just put sidechain compression in just to add like a little bit of kick to it. The thing about the
Let's hop to this EQ real quick here.
Yeah.
Tell us why you ducked
this
a
guy?
certain part down there. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. Let's listen to it again. So this was just like a very prominent frequency in the track itself.
Yeah.
And when you're putting things together, you want to just kind of make some cuts to make space for other things.
Right.
So like not everything's going to fit in your mix, right? So you want to decide what takes priority over other things, basically.
Okay.
And the bass is already really big, and it doesn't need these frequencies right here.
Okay.
The most important things were right here and like the nice little clicky, crunchy parts up here.
Cool.
So yeah,
cool.
so I just need to get that out.
Let's hop over to those drums real quick here.
Let's do it. We can talk about the other basses later, but. So it's all just like on one, group. I just use H comp to kind of glue it together, but.
That's on the overall drum group. You have this one
Yeah.
compressor. Okay.
Most for this track, pretty much everything is grouped into individual tracks except for the sub.
Yeah.
I wanted to give that as much space as possible and just not compress it anymore. I mean, it's already compressed to hell like when I made it, so.
Right.
So it really didn't need it. So I just use my this is like Lex Luger, sample pack
Yeah,
kicks.
that's been floating around.
They've been floating around for a while. Yeah, but they sound great, so I use them all the time. And this is some individual, hats that I made, or not.
Can we take a look at that lane, just the MIDI pattern of the hats?
Yeah, of course. So when I was coming up with the rhythm of the thing, like I said before, it's all about the quarter note bounce. That's what makes trap music really awesome.
Right.
And that's really simple, and everybody does it, pretty much the same way because that's what trap music is. Because that's what makes it what it is. So you want to have lots of cool variations in there to kind of make a bigger sound, get some more complexity to it. So partially it works with the other drums. But it also has a couple little hits kind of out of nowhere to just add a little bit more variation, add a little bit more flavor to it. And then I kind of used it as its own not a melody or anything, but it kind of stands out more in here just to have some nice variation in the fact that it's, how would I put this? It's just got a lot more motion, I guess.
Interesting. And then how's that all tied together? You have a pretty tight little clap snap kind of thing in there.
Yeah.
That seems to tie all those drums together.
So obviously there's just the thick ones that are on the threes, and then there's this little pattern of these real crunchy crowd claps in there. And that works the same way. It's all about emphasizing the beat.
Yeah.
And then working around that emphasis.
Yeah.
So. And I get much more into that later on in the song. In the beginning, it's very straightforward. Everything is really this is trap music. This is what I think of as trap music, basically. Just dark trap music. But then, when I get into the second half of the song, I wanted to change it up and make it a little more complicated, like I said before. I just sold the drums and the bass, because these are the... So it's still got that quarter note thing, but it goes...
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's definitely got a good bounce
called.
to it.
Yeah. So that gives it a lot of a lot of energy that it didn't have before. It was much more dead feeling in the beginning. Really just heavy, just hits you.
Yeah.
But this one's got much more bounce, got much more motion to it. It feels more alive. And that's a lot of that is built off of this Serum bass patch.
Right.
Pretty simple sound. It's just a nice wide little punchy thing.
Very cool, man. Yeah, that conversation between the drums, that really bouncy rhythm, and that call and response with the bass. Really one of my favorite parts of this track.
Oh, thank you.
word on the street is this will be available, the full stem track, on Dubseed.com, probably shortly following the release of this Beatroots episode.
I heard that was true.
I heard it was true too.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. If it is true, check the description below for a link.
Yeah.
My name's Rob from Dubseed.com. We're a marketplace for stems. I'm here with Taylor, aka Ozmo.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, man.
That's me, man.
Yeah, we'll link all of his music also in the description below. And aside from that, we'll see you next week for a new episode of Beatroots.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.